Hello, hello. Here we come to you again. Over 40 different platforms around the world, and we are the Paranormal World Show under Broadcast Team Alpha's umbrella. And we're going to have some fun tonight. Some feel-good fun, because who does not want to hear about the extraterrestrial presence on Earth? I think absolutely everybody is interested in one form or another. So this is going to be good. I have a wonderful guest with me, and my name is Agi, and I'm the host tonight. And we are also transmitting on Conscious Awakening Network. You should go over there and check them out because they got a lot of shows on there, and check it out at consciousawakeningnetwork.org. And we are transmitting over there also. And we are on, like I said, actually 44 different platforms as far as I know. And that goes up to 3 TV stations and Roku and a bunch of other things. So here we go. And I also want to invite you to join us in the Mastermind Connection. Nori and I created a spiritual think tank where we do some incredible things. There are things that we make happen that cannot be explained by Newtonian physics. But if you get deeply into quantum mechanics, most of it can be explained. And we also do that. So come and join us. And if you'd like to check it out, send us an email to themastermindconnection@gmail.com. And tonight, today, this morning, this afternoon, depending on where you are around the world, we have Constance Victoria Briggs with us. She is returning to Broadcast Team Alpha, and like I said, we're going to have some fun because we're going out of the box here, way out of the box. And she has written 6 books. I just found out. I thought it was 5, but hey, she got another one. And the last one that came out is Earth's Galactic History, its extraterrestrial connection. And there's a lot to talk about there. So we are going to jump right into it because this is going to be good. So welcome to the show, Victoria.
Thank you, Augie. Thanks for having me back.
Oh, this is going to be fun. Now you just put out another book, and they can find that one also on Amazon, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So for those of you that is out there and like to surf the internet at the same time you are listening and watching, go to Amazon and check out her books. There's 6 of them, and the last one, I haven't had the chance to see that yet, but because it just came out. But we're going to go into it a little bit here.
You don't
So
have a picture, Augie? Here's a picture.
there you go. There you go.
There's the book, Augie.
Yeah. Okay. That's excellent. I see that orb that you have there sitting
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
that is
Cool.
just like some of them look like. Yeah,
Very
there you
cool,
go.
yeah.
Yeah, and what is actually this book all about? And first of all, maybe also, why did you pick up this subject to write about?
So, I'm a big obviously I'm a big believer that we're not alone in the universe and that Earth is being visited. Um, and I've written the 2 moon books that took me on a journey into outer space, and where I came across amazing information about who is out there, who might be out there, and who is out there, and what's going on in the galaxy. You and I have our hands in this information all the time, but I've met so many people that are they are not aware that we're not alone in the universe. They think the idea is science fiction. They think that I'm making things up
Yeah,
when I
yeah.
talk about it. And I just think it was time to write a book that was easy to read, that sort of introduced people who have no idea about this stuff, who have no idea, for example, that there have been hearings by the government
Yeah.
on UFOs. None. I just thought it was time to write a book talking about it. And it was my desire to write a book that went back from the beginning of history to the end. But as you and I know, Augie, there's just too much information for one book to put it all in there.
Yeah.
So this is an introduction to people, and we'll get into it. But I took it across various topics of where extraterrestrials have been seen and heard and found around Earth.
And there's so much information coming out right now, even from government in pictures and videos and statements that confirms a lot of the stuff that you write about and others write about. So the people that are sitting on the fence right now, they can feel somebody shaking the pole. They're going to have to come off on one or the other side. Either they come off to the side that, yes, I accept the extraterrestrials are here, or they are going to jump off on the side to be totally ignorant in their own bliss. And
Well,
that's going to be a tough one for many, especially the one deeply embedded in religion.
you know, that's true. And we've reached a point today, at this point in time in Earth history, that, it looks like something is coming
Yeah.
soon that is going to, be revealed to the masses. And I don't think that they're going to have any choices, Augie. You can't deny something that's right in front of you. And frankly, there's so much information. There's so many sightings today of this phenomena of ETs and UFOs that it's hard to deny it. Even if you don't want to believe it, you can't deny it. And with the technology we have today of
Yeah.
people capturing things on film all the time,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
just no denying it. So
Millions and millions of people are not making this up because there is evidence, physical evidence also. But also, I wonder, Earth has a long history of extraterrestrial connections. What
mhm.
is that Earth's extraterrestrial connection? Where do you see it?
So, in the beginning of this book, I got a little bit deep, and I wrote about some of the theories that take us all the way back to the beginning of of history of Earth. I called that chapter Earthrise before I even got into the extraterrestrial people. I called this Earthrise because there are theories out there that life, believe it or not, didn't even begin on Earth, that it began with extraterrestrial intervention.
Yeah.
There is some thought that our Earth was actually terraformed by extraterrestrials. And there's a lot of talk about it. It's not just ufologists, there are scientists, because they really, up to this point, they have not been able to prove where life started. And there's such a there's such diversity here that they think that maybe some of it was brought in. The first idea is that there were extraterrestrial seeders out there that were trying to, and they call it panspermia, but that's the word, but to break it down, extraterrestrials that were trying to spread life in our galaxy and hit the different planets by doing kind of a seeding and hoping that intelligent life would take hold. But then there's another theory that extraterrestrials were directing the seeds to Earth to see if life would take hold. And then the last, there's two more theories. And once you move past the terraformed Earth, of how if they didn't even take hold, if some of these life forms were brought into from different worlds by extraterrestrials, some of the life we see here, people believe in evolution, and they think, some of them, that it started in this, this soup, kind of a
Yeah.
mixed soup, and life crawled out of it. But some people are changing that idea. Some scientists are looking at this other theory. And I believe, in writing this book, that we need to entertain that idea that extraterrestrials had a hand in life here, and had a hand in the creation of humans, or maybe humans were even brought here. And that is just the first connection that I talk about in the beginning of this book. The other connections would be going back into our history. I go as far back into our history, and I look at the beginning of the ancient writings and the ancient texts. And I've discovered that, well, Augie, like many of us do, that all of the cultures just about on Earth had writings about star beings
Yeah.
to Earth that helped humankind to become, you know, advanced a little bit, and they saw that, we're a young race. They worked with us. They helped us to start cities and agriculture. They were here at that time openly. They worked with us. So we have the connection going all the way back to the beginning, where they were helping us. And then we have connections when we look at, some of the artwork of the past that verifies that as evidence, because humans early on wrote down and drew what they were seeing in their interactions with extraterrestrials. So if that connection, I'm trying to say, started, even though we're connected now, it started way back in time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And scientists now, if they're starting to look at the evidence of the genetics of humans, they find that there has been genetic manipulation, because chromosome number 2 was cut, bent, and the telomeres were put on both ends of it, and it cannot happen by accident. That was done by some scientist somewhere distant past, manipulating our genetic structure to create us. The evidence is there, it's clear. And I mean, Greg Braden talks about it on his channel all over the place, proving it.
There's a lot of theories as to how they went about that too. There's the idea, and I talk about it in my book, that we were created maybe as some sort of biological AI and became sentient. That's a thing. There was, we all know of the Anunnaki story, where humans were, said to be created to be servants. But wherever, the story goes, and I can't give all the descriptions here, it looks like we were, like you said, created by extraterrestrials, or they had a hand in our creation, even if they, did mix their DNA with primates, which is another story.
Yep.
No matter how you slice this, Augie, we have an extraterrestrial connection.
Yep.
And it's something that we need to open our minds about and look at and discuss if we're going to advance as a worldwide society.
Yep, absolutely. We need to. And we know they're here, at least most of us know or highly suspect that they are here. But why do you think they come here? Or at least some of them? I know there are different agendas, but what do you think?
Okay, so this is, I think, probably one of the most interesting questions, because when people think of extraterrestrial visiting, they think of, the gray aliens, right? The gray aliens have taken over social media. When you see mostly an alien, that's what they look like. And they think, abductions, for people not familiar with extraterrestrials or the whole idea. However, in my book, I talk about how we live in a galaxy that is teeming with life. Life is everywhere.
Yeah.
if you listen to all of the information that has come in from the experiencers, the contactees, the extraterrestrials that have visited and had contact with people on a private scale, not a mass scale. We know from them that there is a galactic community out there. Heck, there are beings on Earth that we cannot even see because of our limited sight. There's life all around us that you wouldn't even know is out there. So not just one group, I'm trying to say, of extraterrestrials coming to visit Earth. There are a number of groups coming for a number of reasons. Some of the reasons are more complicated than others. Now, if you think of, and for example, this is where the fun part comes in because it's very Star Trek-like. If you think of extraterrestrial worlds where there are civilizations, where there are perhaps beings that are far more advanced than we are, because, humanity seems to think that they're the greatest in the universe, right? That we were the first and that our technology is the highest. But when you look at the ratio of stars and galaxies out there, we know that there's more civilizations. So why not there be civilizations that are trying to learn, okay, that have advanced technology, that are able to travel the stars and are trying to explore the universe or our galaxy. So one of the reasons they may be coming is simply for exploring, just as NASA is talking about doing one day, exploring the universe. There may be beings that are already doing that and that have been doing so for many, many years. They're coming here for scientific expeditions. Maybe they're taking, this information back to their worlds. We've seen where water, people have witnessed, for example, water being extracted from the oceans and the rivers.
Yep.
There's thought that they're taking other resources. So those are some of the reasons they may be coming. Another one, and this is very interesting, is the idea that extraterrestrials may be looking to colonize areas of Earth, okay, or perhaps colonized Earth in the past, even before humanity was here, and maybe began to, interbreed eventually. But there may be people checking on Earth, checking their creation, checking, where they're standing, and the idea of colonization. I hope that made sense.
Yeah.
Others here, Augie, and I could go down a long list, but I won't keep that list going. We'll use the whole time. But one of the ideas is that they may be trying to assist us. Okay, and assisting us can be so many ways. They're trying to educate us as far as what we shouldn't be doing, as far as nuclear weapons.
Mm-hmm.
We both know the stories of them coming and talking to government officials and saying, you can't do that. You can't let off use nuclear weapons. They're disarming nukes. They're trying to assist us in becoming more mature and educating us on the topics of what we should and shouldn't do. I mean, there are books that have been channeled, loaded with information coming from extraterrestrials that are somewhere nearby, channeling, I think, that we shouldn't be doing that. And there's also said to be extraterrestrials here that have been working with scientists in trying to solve diseases and that sort of thing. So all kinds of rumors about how they're trying to help. And they're also said to be on standby, at least one group on standby in case there is a worldwide disaster and we have to be lifted off the earth. Okay, so they are here to assist. And another way they're here to assist is because we are a young group of a race of beings, we do not have the technology to protect ourselves against a group that may come in that wants to control the earth. So, it's been speculated that some of the, ETs are here to act as protectors and guardians to a point,
Yeah.
to a limited point, because they cannot interfere totally in what we're doing, but they can stop maybe a group from coming in and destroying us, which could be a thing.
Yeah.
So they're here to assist Earth, and yeah, those are some of the reasons I think they might be visiting. I can go on with this list, Augie, but
Yeah.
it's quite long.
I understand that. And you mentioned that some of the extraterrestrial may be working with people on Earth for scientific purposes, and I know that is a fact because Dan Willis and Elena Danaan is working with an off-world person, and he has given them technology, and the technology works. So I know that for a fact. That is happening. And I think also that the government is trying now to tell us that, oh, please be scared because they're coming here to annihilate us. No. If they wanted to take over Earth, they would have done that hundreds of years ago when we could not shoot them out of the sky. Why wait till now when they're going to lose a lot of their ships? No, that's not going to happen. There's another thing here, but let me get off my soapbox. How far back in history do you see evidence, maybe by painting in caves or statues and stuff, that we can say, yes, this is of an extraterrestrial origin or a depiction of something that they saw of extraterrestrial origin?
Well, Augie, this information goes back to the beginning of written history.
Yeah.
All right. So we've been seeing things, the whole time. And people are not even aware of that. At the most, they think it goes back to 1947 when UFOs are said to have started coming in here. No, that was a wave of UFOs because we created, we were using, weaponry that, you know, well, we shouldn't have been, and we were on the verge of creating, all of these
Yeah.
weapons. But people think that they came in there, but no, they go back to the beginning of written history and depictions all over the place. There was one ancient drawing that I saw, which was extraterrestrials clearly sitting, sort of peeking out of a ship, disc-shaped ship with a weapon, and they were herding cattle. And this was an ancient picture. There's a lot of those out there. There's a lot of depictions even of, as we know, what looked like astronauts in
Yeah.
ancient, they call it ancient astronauts. They go back, thousands and thousands of years that let us know that they were there. And then you have all of the drawings out of, the greatest empires in the ancient empires in the world. We know that the Greeks had writings and pictures. The Egyptians, Egypt, by the way, was lit. I mean, it was full of extraterrestrial activity to the point where they're saying that the extraterrestrials had given Egypt light. They were using the electricity. It was
Yep.
nothing like, we picture now this dry place and sandy. This place was jumping with people and extraterrestrials and people that didn't look completely humanoid. All right. Some of them had, you know, the heads and faces of what looked to be some sort of animal. We see the gods and goddesses
Yeah.
of Egypt, though that was a thing. That wasn't someone's imagination. And if you go back into the history of extraterrestrials and the origin and what we've been told, there are extraterrestrials in the universe that depict some of the beings that have been showed in Egyptian, what we call Egyptian mythology, but they were real. So, and they talked about it. The ancient peoples talked about extraterrestrials coming. They
Yeah.
talked about their interactions. So I've introduced that in my book for people who don't know that is really a thing, so that
Yes.
they would be aware.
Yeah. And when it comes to Egypt, the Egyptians did not build the pyramids. The oldest writings that surfaced explaining who built the pyramid says the pyramid, the large pyramid at least, it said it was built by the crocodile kings. So they didn't look human at all. But that's for another day, I think.
Yeah,
Now
they,
you also found some things going on under the oceans.
oh my God. You know, Augie, I could write a whole separate book about what's going on under the oceans. And I just love the whole idea of the oceans and Atlantis, and you know, I'm running to every movie. But um, okay, so basically, this is the deal. When we look at Earth, every nook and cranny of Earth has been touched by extraterrestrial activity. There is a connection, and that includes the deep oceans. Now, how can that include the oceans? A person might ask, how silly is that? There's no such thing as mermaids and all this that they say. But I'm not talking about mermaids. I'm talking about people witnessing UFOs going in and out of Earth's deep oceans, rivers, and seas. And my book does, you know, list areas around the world where they have been seen, where people have been standing on the beach and they have seen lights under the waters. All right. Now, the first record I have of this, and I'm sure it goes back further to ancient times, but Christopher Columbus is in my book because he and his men, with over 100 of them on 3 different ships, we know that, were watching these things in the sky. They didn't have any words for them. They didn't know they were UFOs or spaceships. They called them stars. And they said these stars were flying around their ships. And then some of them were diving into the waters. And then they would see the lights under the waters moving, but they didn't know what they were. And he was fascinated, of course. And he wrote about them in his journal. We're
Yep.
so lucky that they kept journals back then, right? So that was one of the first recollections I like to give people, because if I mention some of the other stuff, they won't know the names, but they know Christopher Columbus, right? But then I happened upon a story that was written by a woman who worked for an organization where the organization, she was very hush-hush in naming things, but she was saying that they had to go and look at beached whales. These beached whales were on a beach. They were dead, and they noticed that there were holes cut out of the whales, and they were like that when they found them. That people didn't come up and put holes in them. It looked to her professional eye like these holes had been used, some sort of laser had been like a cylinder. Meat had been extracted from the whale, basically, is what happened. So in comes professionals with equipment to look at this area of the ocean. And what did they find? They found what they said were beings that could move in the water, that had vehicles in the water, and they also fired upon their equipment that they sent down there to observe them. All right. Now, this is a story that I put into my book because it was so interesting.
Yeah.
And I believe it because I've read other accounts and I've come across other, people who said that way out in the sea, they've seen people's heads sticking up and looking at them. All right. So now, who would these people be? We have 2 theories. One is that the Earth really does have something called some kind of mer people down there. However, these other beings are quite different. These are the beings, when we see UFOs coming into the oceans, that may perhaps be existing there, that may be extraterrestrial. And the reason that extraterrestrials are thought to be in the oceans is because it seems to be a safe place for them to exist away from humanity's prying eyes. So if they want to come in and out and be close, the deep oceans is their best bet if they have the technology to survive there, because they know that we can't go down there. And not only that, it's thought that when they are in the deep oceans, they are coming across areas that have caverns under the ocean that they can go through and perhaps go into inner Earth or
Yeah.
not. Now, who are these ETs that can go into water? Well, we know there is an account from the Dogon people who were visited ages ago by amphibious beings called the Nomos, who came from the stars and gave them advanced information of the cosmos. And the Nomos, all right, were seen by these people going in and out of the sea. They could live on land or they could live in the ocean. But my question is, did those Nomos who came to Earth and gave this primitive tribe in South Africa, the Dogon people, information about the cosmos that wasn't even proven at the time until eventually our astronomers discovered that what they were saying was true. They discovered, Sirius, other Sirius star and all of this. But did those Nomos ever leave? Did they ever leave Earth and return to the stars, or are they still here? And is that them?
I think they're here. They've been here a long time. And in fact, when you talked about Columbus, I read his journal. And that incident you talk about happened about 2 weeks before he found the first island. So he was in the Caribbean at the time. So yes, that's real. He saw those things.
People don't know it.
Yeah.
People have never heard it.
Yeah.
Some of this stuff is very public. Some of it's very popular, and there's other things in the book that people may not know so much about. But I think people should know this information, Augie, if we're ever to get anywhere. And that's why I wrote the book.
Yeah, that's excellent. That is excellent. Now, I also, speaking of under the ocean, but also inside the earth, you write about that also. What do you think is inside? Is it the center, the cavity, or is it small cavities around? And what do you think?
All, it just couldn't, you can't make this stuff up. It can't get any stranger.
Yeah.
Really. I brought up the hollow earth subject to one of my relatives, and they were like, there's just no way, Constance. Well, I'm here to tell you that the scientists, and I have it in my book, scientists are saying, and I named the scientists, that there is water beneath the earth. And there's a lot of it. There's they're saying more than our oceans up here. Okay.
Yeah, I read that report.
And there's caverns that are, just go on forever down there. It's a thing, and it's real, and there are beings down there. Now we have all kinds of mythological tales about, Shangri-La, for example, and there being this city down there, or maybe more than one city. It's a thing. It's real. They're right beneath us. And people have gone their lifetimes not understanding this. Now, two theories of who these beings down there can be. We can refer to them as extraterrestrials, or we can refer to them as intraterrestrials. The intraterrestrials can be extraterrestrials that came even before humanity was created, and they've been there all along. Or they can be people who survived. There's one story where there were people who survived catastrophes on Earth and went inside and found technology that would make them human, and we can refer to them as intraterrestrials. Or we can also look at the fact that there may have been extraterrestrials that came from the stars that went inside Earth. Now, I say that because it's beginning to look like this hollow world thing is more than we ever expected. The moon is said to be hollow. It's thought to be hollow. The moons of Mars are thought to be hollow. Earth is apparently hollow. So it could have been extraterrestrials that came in here and immediately just went in and built this city. Now, why would they go inside Earth instead of on top, for example?
Yeah.
It is said that we are living inside out, that it is safer for races of beings to be inside of a world to avoid radiation, to avoid catastrophe, weather that can wipe you out. It is safer to actually live on the inside and maybe visit the outside. So that could be a reason. So when I was writing this book, I talked about some of the stories, the science behind it, and then some of the stories. There have been people who claim to have gone into inner Earth. All right, one of the gentlemen was taken on a ship. There have been extraterrestrials that have approached people that did not abduct them, but invited them to go on ships and visit. This guy said he went, actually the USO, it was the USO, went inside the ocean and through a cavern that went into the earth, and then he got out of the ship and he went into sort of an elevator like thing inside of a city down there. And then we have the account, as many people are aware of, Admiral Richard Byrd, who also visited inner Earth. Now, this gentleman is very interesting because he was a decorated military officer, and the government believed him. They believed anything he said. He was so well known and so well respected and so well trusted. But they put him under, they put a gag on him. He couldn't talk about it for many, many years, or he would, be arrested. So he was respectful of their wishes, and he didn't talk about it. But eventually, this book came out later with all of his, with his journey down there, and he said it was a city and it was beautiful, and he described it, and he said that the people down there were talking about how we were ruining the earth and giving us warnings. Now, that's the second person I've named. There's another man who wrote books, The Shaver Mysteries.
Yep.
He visited, he is said to have visited, and he described some of the same things that these other two gentlemen said that they saw. So something is going on. It looks like beings are down there, all right? But not only those guys, not only those humanoid people that we know of, there are also stories around the world of tunnels, all over the earth that have openings that you can go into. And some people have gone in there and seen other beings, and some of those beings were reptilian.
Yep.
Reptilian beings in the caverns. And what's really interesting is there's a cavern out of Vietnam, and in that cavern, you can visit yourself, and it looks like a whole world onto itself. Pearls are on the floor. There's a forest. There's a river, and you just think that if all of that can be going on down there, then what else? And that's right where you and I, Augie, can go. What else is down there, right? But reptilian beings have been seen in some of these tunnels, and you really have to be careful if you know what a reptilian is. So
yep, absolutely. And for those of you that joined us late into this show, we are talking with Constant Briggs. And we're talking about her last book, Earth's Galactic History and its Extraterrestrial Connection.
yeah.
And this is getting really deep. And I got another question coming up that I've been brewing on. And that is that in order for us to be seated here, or someone came here, they had to come from somewhere. What is this thing you write about called the cosmic freeway?
Yeah. So, Augie, one of the arguments, excuse me, I'm losing my voice a little bit. One of the arguments that we have from many people, including, I think, SETI and some other scientists out there, that we cannot be visited by extraterrestrials because the space is too vast to travel.
Yeah.
All right. So here it goes. One of the things that NASA is talking about doing in the future, we don't have the technology, obviously, is creating or using or creating technology to make portals and stargates and using wormholes to traverse the galaxy or the universe. They're looking into that technology, and of course, there some of them are saying we can never do it. We'll never do it. But it is a thought, all right. And I talk about a conference in my book where they were talking about this whole thing. What if there are extraterrestrials, and I believe they are, that already have the technology, that are so far ahead of us in their technology that they've already been using wormholes to travel the galaxy, or they've learned how to bend, bend the wormholes, to use, just leave it at that. I don't want to get too complicated. It's easier to just say portals or stargates. What if they already have been? And I believe they are. Now, when people have described some UFOs, they swear that they're there 1 minute and then they're gone the other. Some have sworn that they've gone through, that they saw a portal open and then they disappeared.
Yep.
That is a thing. That is what I call the cosmic freeway. All right. And it's not, now, whether or not this thing is regulated, because I believe there are, and maybe I'll get into that, hierarchies in our galaxy running things. Whether this thing is regulated just like a freeway on Earth, I don't know. But it looks like there are beings that have that technology already. Not only that, but we've seen it in science fiction. So we understand what a Stargate might be and what it can do, that you can send people and things through it if you have the technology to visit places. And I tell you something else, it's not just ships that were or are coming through these things. Around the Earth, throughout our history, there are places where there have been portals. I put those in the book, where people have been seen coming and going. In fact, in some of the ancient times, they said that the gods came and went through these doors. They call them doors, but we would call them portals. They weren't in ships all the time. They were walking sometimes. They just walk into these things and disappear. And there have been occasions on Earth in modern times where people have been seen walking through a door and coming back. That is the cosmic freeway, where people can come and go and travel, that have the technology, that are aware of it. We are not privy to it yet because we are too young a race to be able to use that kind of technology, where we're still in our warring stage. They're not going to give it to us, and if we're not educated about these things, we're never going to have access to this kind of technology. I call it the Star Trek future, which is why I think we should be talking about it, examining it, even if it sounds far-fetched. We should be thinking out of the box, so that we one day will be a spacefaring race that can use portals, stargates, and wormholes to travel the galaxy.
Absolutely. And now the question is, of course, maybe we already are, it's just that we have not been told what they're talking about in the secret space program and the 20 and back program and these things. So, but some of that will come to light and we're going to find out. But you did mention the galactic hierarchy. That I want to hear about, because we're probably at the bottom of the rung there, but there are things above us in that hierarchy that goes off the planet into higher vibrations, where there are good things going on and there are good entities there that want our best.
So when I'm talking about the galactic hierarchies, there are two different things that I am referring to. One of them, and I think the main one, is that there are other, I don't want to say, like, it's not a government, organizations, I guess, that are out there that are keeping an order in the galaxy. So, it's said basically that there was a time where there was more warring. There was warring going on among races within the galaxy, and that something had to be done, and that these hierarchies were created to keep order. Just like when I said we are not allowed to use certain weaponry. There's a reason, okay, because they know that it can affect the galaxy if we use these weapons, that it can destroy life on Earth. If they put it here, they don't want to destroy it.
Yeah.
So there are beings that are in charge of these kind of things that will not allow X, Y, and Z. They may control the galactic, the cosmic freeway. There are authorities out there that are in charge of what's going on. Not only that, but this is where it really gets kind of strange for me, is that so we would be on the very, very bottom right now because we're new, but there may be extraterrestrial beings that are so far advanced that they actually may own Earth. Earth may be some kind of real estate, all right? And they may actually be, controlling even the weather here or the, population. That's a whole other thing. So that is a thought. But the hierarchies that I'm most familiar with, the Council of Nine, the Galactic Federation. These are positive hierarchies that have the best outlook for the galaxy, and that includes Earth. These are beings that would like to see Earth and her inhabitants, humanity, become a part of the galactic community. All right, to be able to travel freely in the stars and interact with other beings in harmony. In harmony. Is all of the galaxy like that? I don't think so, Augie. I think there are some out there that have malintentions, but I think they are kept in check.
Yeah, I think there's some governance going on in the Galactic Alliance, and there are several different names for them, or maybe they are different organizations, but I think maybe we could have kind of changed the names a little bit. There's got to be someone at the top having an overview of what's going on and try to regulate and keep the peace. Imagine with people like us around, that's not that easy.
You've heard the story of a Dr. Mr. Hameen Eshed, I think his name is Hayam Eshed. He was I'm sorry if I'm ruining his name. I apologize, audience. He was an Israeli writer, and he was in the news. So it's a very famous story. About 2 years ago, he wrote about the Galactic Federation. I was watching the news, and they were saying, there's this Israeli general. He said that he's got all the money and education he needs. He's well known, and he's letting people know that there is a Galactic Federation, that there's people on Mars, and Mars and Earth's people are on Mars, and they're working together with the Galactic Federation. And I swirled around because I've heard about the Galactic Federation 30 years ago, and I was like, oh my God, they outed the Galactic Federation on TV. That's the last I've heard of them, but they're there, and they're watching and they're monitoring, and they are some of the main people. Apparently they come from different worlds and are traveling in ships, and they're out in Earth vicinity. They're keeping an eye on us, and they're also protecting us.
Yep, and we have the NASA prints even of these ships. One of them that I can think of is that around Saturn, right outside the outer rim, there is a 3,000-mile long blob of a ship taken in the infrared spectrum. But it's 3,000 miles long, sitting right there. And they were a little bit later, it's not there in the same stream of pictures. So there's something out there. Now, that's not ours. We don't make 3,000-mile long ships.
Not yet.
I don't care what the secret space program is doing. They're not doing that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. And did you have some favorite stories about extraterrestrials that you could? I love story time.
Some of my favorite stories are coming out of the medieval times because we have been visited forever since we've been on Earth by extraterrestrials. There's a whole bunch of things that have gone on. One of my favorite stories is that of Charlemagne, the leader Charlemagne. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. He did not like UFOs. So he was seeing UFOs. He was really bothered by them being around. I don't know why they were picking on poor Charlemagne. In fact, during those times, they did visit a lot of the world leaders because, these guys had people who wrote down all activities going on. So anyway, Charlemagne was so perturbed by these UFOs showing up, kind of stealing his thunder, I guess, that he produced an edict that they were not allowed to come. He had it declared that they were to stay away. They were not allowed to come. That's one of my favorites. Anyway, okay.
He wouldn't do that unless he saw something.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
All right. So guys, during medieval times, I don't know what was happening, but there was a lot of warring going on across Europe.
Yeah.
UFOs were showing up all the time, and people were mistaking them for signs from God because they didn't know any better. And they would say that God sent these flying shields. They knew what a shield was because they used them in war, right? These disc-shaped shields that they used. So what they were seeing in the sky reminded them of that. These shields, or these UFOs, were interfering in those wars. They were trying to stop them. In one case, one of these UFOs landed between two warring factions, and they had to back off from each other. This thing broke up the war, or at least temporarily. All right, and all over the writings from medieval times, you can write in before that even you can read about these in my book, and of how extraterrestrials were intervening in wars and how they were perturbing some of the leaders. There's one case where there were priests getting ready for a sacred day the next day, and the priest wrote about how their building where they were preparing for their meal and getting ready for the next day, how it was shaking, and something in the sky was shaking, and they could hear warring going on in the sky. Actually, let me back up. There were sometimes where there was warring going on between UFOs in the sky, and there was clanking noises, and people have more than one occasion ran outside and they saw UFOs basically shooting beams and things at each other. And so these priests wrote about this, and they said, it was just so strong, even the doors were flying open, the building was shaking. Why were they in the skies fighting each other? Who were they? I believe that there were some beings at that time trying to attack Earth, and that they were being chased away.
Yep.
And in one account, it said that they heard something in a voice from space said, the gods are leaving. And I thought, the gods are leaving. They heard that. They actually wrote this in the history journal. The gods are leaving. I think that it was someone, maybe the Galactic Federation, like I said, pushing these things aside. And it was that sarcasm. The gods are leaving. They chased them away. Sarcasm? So I talk about that. There are pictures from those times because they had what, they to them was a newspaper, but they had them on wood carvings. That was the news for the day.
Yeah. Yep.
And they had these drawings. What do they call them? I'm forgetting the word for it. They had these drawings depicting these UFOs in the sky fighting.
Yep. I've seen that.
Isn't that amazing? And it was
Yes.
more than that one. There were a few of those.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't do that anymore. I don't know. I don't know where they went or what. I tend to believe that somewhere along the line there was some sort of agreement put in place where they couldn't just blatantly come out like that and show themselves, or there would be consequences.
Yeah, I know. And I see we got about 5 minutes or so left here on the show, and I got a personal question. Have you had any personal experiences or sightings of your own?
So I have had what we would have called years ago paranormal experiences my whole life. But there have been, there was a few in particular. I seem to have some sort of friends out there that materialize and dematerialize, because there have been events in my life where I felt like I was saved by someone. I used to think that, they were benevolent angels or something, but if I go back to a time in my life, there was a time where, I was a kid that was heavily bullied. And I tell this, story to my friends sometimes, but I don't go into this detail. I was heavily bullied, and, I was one of those kids that wanted to commit suicide to just end it all, get rid of the bullying, get rid of the dysfunctional household that I was growing up in. And I took these pills, a bunch of sleeping pills. And while I was lying there, what I believe to be now a portal opened up. I used to tell this story and say it was a swirling cloud. What it looked like was a swirling cloud that opened, but I believe no, it was a portal and someone came out of it. And this person was asking me to come. He was pulling, holding out his hand and saying, come on. And I was just looking at him like, oh my God, this is what happens when you take a bunch of pills. I was like 14 years old. And I didn't know anything about angels then or extraterrestrials, but he looked really worried. He looked very concerned. And he had a gown and it had a turtleneck. And I see him today in my memory. I just see him as black and white. I don't really remember the colors. But that was a portal that he came out of. And so
What
I would,
facial features, or did it look like us?
yeah, he was human. He was humanoid. He had very, very nice facial features. I never forgot him. I can still see his face today. Very normal, slender nose, normal lips. Just, he was an attractive person. He looked
Mhm.
humanoid. But it took me many years of studying and learning to fully understand this experience. And I tell you, I came across a life-changing book, Augie. It was called From Elsewhere, written by Scott Mandelaker. And this was a book about extraterrestrials on Earth that were born into Earth, that were living here. And this woman described exactly what I had described seeing. And by this time, I knew enough about extraterrestrials to recognize the name that she gave of the person that she was describing. And she said, and so I looked up this entity, who I will not name right now, but I looked up the entity. I did my research, and I found a channeled picture of this being. And this being in the channeled picture was in front of a swirling cloud, like a portal,
Mm.
turtleneck up to here. And I swear to you, it looked like the exact same face to me.
Wow.
So yeah, I've seen that being. Maybe I'll write a book about it one day. I'm not ready to out him or name him, but I believe that he is there.
Mm.
And that would explain some of the downloads of information I get. I feel like sometimes, Augie, I'm just getting downloads of information. I have to go run and write it. I have guides around me, and I have experiences where I am elsewhere during my sleep. My latest experience was there were three beings, and I've tried to find them in all of my books of extraterrestrials. I've been told that I'm from Sirius, that
Mhm.
that's where I was before I came to Earth. And I don't know if these were Syrian beings or not, but they were not exactly, they were humanoid, but their eyes were very, very different.
Mm.
They had very strange eyes. And Augie, it looked like they were working on me and something was wrong with me.
Wow.
Something was wrong. and they were concerned, and two of them were running in different directions, and one was very close to me trying to fix me, but I don't know what they were doing. Now, I also have the experience of trying to get into a ship. I call it, I used to think, okay, this was something that happens in my astral. I go into the astral a lot, guys. I travel every night and I'm interacting with people. But in this case, I can remember the ship. People talk about going on ships and being off planet. I remember the ship, and it was something divine. I've never seen any ship in any of the books that I have, and I have a lot of books with ship descriptions, nothing like this gorgeous thing. So I believe I am going off planet. I believe I am connected. I believe I am getting downloads. And I believe that, some of us come here with things to do to try to push this agenda of having the earth ascend, people do better, and having us to learn that we're not alone in the universe, and trying to achieve a point where we can have contact, because I really think that that will make things better here. So that's my story. I think that there is someone working with me. I have guides giving me information all the time. I'm never alone.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, now towards the end here, let people also know where they can find your books, not just the one that we've been talking about, but all of them.
Okay, well, you can go on Amazon. Doesn't Amazon have everything? You can get them all on Amazon, or you can Google the last three, the two moon books and this earth book. You can go to Adventures Unlimited Press. They have it. But believe me, just go to Amazon.
Yeah. And they're quick. They get it out right away too. So that's good. Gosh, this has been interesting. Thank you very much for being with us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, this was fun. And I'm gonna go check that book out because I haven't had time to see it yet, because when you sent me the note saying that you had a new book out, within 5 minutes I was on the phone with you to book a show. So this worked out all right. And I thank you very much. And I thank the listeners and the watchers. Depends on where you are. Some of the platforms we are on, there's only audio. So I thank you also. And if you like what you heard, please subscribe. It's going to help us a lot. And you also will get the notice. If you click the bell, you'll get the notice when the next show comes up. So until then, be good to each other.